one of the last things I want to talk about and spend the most time on is volatility. So what I want to show is when there are disruptions in the economy, they tend to take place over a long period of time. When you think about the agricultural revolution, the industrial revolution, there's an image that we have in our heads of somebody working on a farm and then saying, the work's not good enough, I'm going into the city. That didn't actually happen. The transition happened over multiple generations. What happened was a farmer would have children, and those children would go into the cities. And so the economy had the chance over generations to absorb all these changes to the type of work being done. What you can see with what Bain calls the great transformation, the automation through machine learning, the displacement's going to happen over a very short period of time. Over a very short period of time. Here's where that's so different. When you have those kinds of shocks, both the supply and demand are going to be way out of kilter. The types of skills that an accountant has, that a software programmer has. Before, when you could run those skills and drive a career out of that over a 20, 30, 40-year period, you're now going to be seeing disruptions on a 5 to 10-year period. Two things about that. As an individual worker, my career could collapse within a very short span of time, and I have to go back and get retrained. On the supply side, a company can find that it has a need for a certain skill set, and that market of that talent is going to be tiny. Because again, in the past, the economy has had decades to respond, to recognize that there's a new need, a new technology, and to be able to build up the skill set. Now it's happening so quickly, we need to radically rethink about how we do education and training. We're having a really interesting conversation with the California State University Academic Senate right now, where we're beginning to look at this model of a kid coming into a university for 4 years, investing that time, the opportunity cost of not drawing a salary, but then hoping that that 4-year university education will last her for the next 50, 60 years of her career. That's already beginning to stop. Google has begun to, I think we've crossed the 10% mark of people without 4-year degrees that we're hiring as engineers. Because what we're more interested in is the talent than the education. So one of the interesting thoughts is, what does that lifelong learning look like? That model of a 4-year degree, does that still make sense? If the types of skills, if the talent, if the way you do your work changes dramatically every 5 to 10 years, the 4-year university degree probably no longer makes sense. What you need is a model to where either as a university or as an employer, you're constantly retraining and retooling your employees' skills. Not on a 10-year basis, not on a 20-year basis, but on a 2 to 3-year basis. The market will be changing so rapidly. Each of us is going to need to act as an entrepreneur of identifying what those changes are and being willing to invest to radically retool our own workforce. Because the challenge is the changes are happening on such a short basis that the market itself is not going to be able to respond. When you decide to move into a new market, when you realize there's a new technology that you can take advantage of, that workforce will not be there. And so as business leaders or as educators, to begin to think about what are some of these new models that can constantly be retooling that workforce so it's ready for those changes. Which is a great segue to what Dan is going to talk to you about. Thank you.